Have you ever noticed how, in the midst of our dazzling technological age, people are lonelier than ever? We can send a message to the other side of the world in a fraction of a second, yet we struggle to communicate across the dinner table. We have computers that can process more data in a second than our ancestors could in a lifetime. Yet our understanding of ourselves often remains stubbornly limited. This is a paradox, isn't it? The very instruments designed to illuminate our universe seem powerless to illuminate the universe within us. And perhaps this is where the journey begins, not outward, but inward, in a quest to escape the illusory matrix that quietly shapes every thought, every decision, every flicker of perception. Consider the universe. Vast, expanding, indifferent, and breathtakingly beautiful. Galaxies spin in elegant spirals. Stars are born and die in magnificent cosmic dances. And black holes, these gravitational giants, consume matter without prejudice, bending time and space itself. Yet we, on our tiny blue planet, often allow ourselves to be constrained by invisible forces, by constructs built in the minds of other people, or by the repeated echo of culture and expectation. We live inside a simulation of sorts, not one created by computers, but one created by society, a matrix of illusion so subtle that most never question it. It is the invisible scaffolding around our minds, dictating who we are, what we can be, and how we should feel. But the universe itself teaches us something essential. Nothing remains static. Stars explode, galaxies collide, and even the fabric of space expands relentlessly. Change is inherent. And if change can occur in the cosmos on scales, both colossal and minute, can we not also change the internal universe of our thoughts and beliefs? Can we not evolve beyond the illusions we have inherited, consciously choosing the truths that shape our lives instead of the narratives that others imposed upon us? This is the heart of the journey, the courage to confront what is real, what is constructed, and what is profoundly ours. History is a testament to both our susceptibility to illusion and our capacity for transcendence. Societies have clung to myths as if they were the laws of physics themselves. Consider the divine right of kings, once accepted as unassailable truth. Entire populations organized their lives around a belief in authority as natural and eternal as gravity. It took thinkers, dissidents, and revolutionaries to challenge this illusion and imagine a new reality. And they did not do it alone. They did it because they dared to ask, what if what I've been told is not the whole story? What if my perceptions have been constrained by the walls of an invisible prison? In modern times, the illusory matrix is less overt, but perhaps more insidious. It whispers to us through curated social media feeds, through the relentless pursuit of material status, through cultural narratives that define success, beauty, and worth. It persuades us that our value is measured by external markers, when, in truth, the cosmos measures none of these things. A neutron star doesn't care if you have 1 million followers. A galaxy doesn't calculate your net worth. And yet, like ants on a spinning globe, we expend energy chasing signals of validation, unknowingly surrendering our agency to the unseen architects of perception. Escaping this matrix begins with recognition. It begins with asking, what am I truly thinking and why? This is not a simple question. It is a cosmic question akin to the mysteries we ponder when we gaze at the stars. When we look at a quasar emitting energy billions of light years away, we marvel at its raw power and enduring presence. And yet, the same curiosity we bring to the heavens can illuminate the illusions within ourselves. The act of questioning, of observing one's own mind, is the equivalent of placing a telescope upon the inner universe. It allows us to map the gravitational forces of belief, the dark matter of unexamined assumptions, and the nebulae of cultural conditioning that obscure our vision of the truth. But recognition alone is not enough. Awareness is merely the first step. One must also cultivate resilience, the kind of resilience that allows a planet to endure the constant bombardment of asteroids, or a star to survive the relentless pressures of fusion in its core. Resilience is the capacity to withstand adversity, to confront the unknown, and to emerge transformed. And here lies the paradox of the human condition. The very illusions that constrain us can also become the catalysts for our liberation. By confronting them directly, by refusing to let them define us, we engage in a cosmic act of courage, one that mirrors the grand courage of the universe itself, the audacity to exist, to evolve, to shine. Philosophically, this journey challenges our understanding of freedom and responsibility. What does it mean to be free if our thoughts are pre-constructed, if our desires are shaped by unseen forces? Can one truly act morally, creatively, or meaningfully if the scripts of life are written by others? And yet, just as gravity allows planets to orbit, but does not dictate their atmospheres, the matrix sets conditions but does not fully determine our trajectory. Within the constraints, there is possibility. Within the limitations, there is choice. To embrace this is to participate actively in the evolution of self, to acknowledge that the cosmos does not only exist outside, but within, and that our inner cosmos is every bit as vast, complex, and worth exploring as the universe beyond our atmosphere. Stories, of course, illuminate these truths more vividly than abstract reasoning. Consider the life of Galileo, who looked through a telescope and saw the moons of Jupiter, a discovery that challenged the illusions of his time. He faced ridicule, fear, and even imprisonment. Yet in daring to question, he glimpsed a reality larger than himself, one that would eventually reshape humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. Or consider modern innovators and thinkers who confront invisible matrices of expectation every day. Scientists, artists, and explorers, each choosing, often at great personal cost, to see beyond the accepted narratives, to pursue truth in its raw and sometimes uncomfortable form. In this moment, as you listen or read this reflection, I invite you to imagine your own inner cosmos. What illusions are constraining you? What societal narratives have you internalized without questioning? Which beliefs, passed down like inherited stars in a cosmic cluster, are brightening your life and which are merely cluttering the sky with noise? And most importantly, what is the first step you might take to free your mind, to allow your thoughts and actions to align with the deeper truth of who you are? Because here is the ultimate revelation, one that the universe itself seems to whisper in every photon that reaches us across billions of light years. Freedom is not a gift bestowed by others. Freedom is a discovery, a journey, an act of courage. And as we take this journey, we do not travel alone. Every human who questions, who explores, who dares to step beyond the illusions, contributes to a larger awakening, a collective liberation that echoes across our shared human cosmos. Like the interconnected galaxies in a cluster, our actions ripple outward, affecting others in ways we may never fully perceive, yet profoundly shaping the trajectories of our shared existence. We live in an age where information is abundant, yet understanding remains scarce. Every day, trillions of bytes of data cascade across our screens, news, opinions, cat videos, stock tips, global crises, celebrity drama. It is a torrent so overwhelming that our brains, magnificent though they are, struggle to discern signal from noise. And in this digital deluge, the illusory matrix thrives. It feeds on our distractions, our fears, our desires for instant gratification, our need to belong. It whispers that what we see on screens, in advertisements, in the curated narratives of social media is reality. And yet, as anyone who has looked through a telescope or stared up at a night sky knows, reality is far more complex, far more vast, and far more awe-inspiring than any feed could ever capture. The illusory matrix is not a conspiracy, nor is it an external villain lurking in the shadows. It is an emergent property of human systems, psychology, culture, economics, politics, interwoven so intricately that escaping it feels, at times, impossible. It is a gravity of the mind, invisible yet undeniable, pulling us into patterns of thought and behavior that seem natural, inevitable, even comforting. We cling to these patterns because they provide a sense of security. And yet, like the planets orbiting a star, security is a dance dictated by forces we cannot always see. Our orbits can shift, our trajectories can change, if we only learn to recognize the invisible tethers holding us in place. Think about the stars again. Each one is a furnace of nuclear reactions, a delicate balance of forces, too much mass, and it collapses under gravity into a black hole, disappearing from view. Too little, and it fizzles out, never igniting into a beacon of light. We too must find that balance. Too much attachment to the illusions imposed upon us, and our potential collapses inward into stagnation or despair. Too little connection to reality, and we drift, untethered, unable to shine with purpose. The task is not to escape the matrix by rejecting life, but to navigate it intelligently with awareness and courage, much like astronomers charting the complex paths of comets and asteroids in a solar system. Science itself offers a metaphor for this journey. Consider the principle of observation in quantum physics. The act of observing a particle changes its behavior. In other words, consciousness is not passive, it interacts with reality. What we pay attention to, what we measure, what we consider significant, shapes the very outcome of our lives. And if this is true for the subatomic world, how much more profoundly must it be true for the human experience? Our attention is the lens through which the world becomes meaningful. By choosing where to focus, we can collapse the wave function of our lives into patterns of growth, understanding, and contribution, rather than confusion, fear, or passivity. The illusory matrix is further strengthened by our innate biases, those cognitive shortcuts that once allowed our ancestors to survive, but now often mislead us. We are prone to confirmation bias, seeking only what aligns with pre-existing beliefs. We are prone to status bias, valuing what others value, even when it has no intrinsic meaning. We are prone to temporal bias, prioritizing the immediate over the long term, the shallow over the profound. In the context of the universe, these biases are like cosmic dust, small particles that obscure the brilliance of distant galaxies. They are subtle, invisible to the untrained eye, yet they can distort our perception of reality so thoroughly that we mistake illusion for truth. And yet, there is hope, because just as we can measure the distortions of light caused by interstellar matter, just as we can detect the gravitational waves from collisions billions of light years away, we can measure, identify, and ultimately correct the distortions within our own consciousness. This requires vigilance, self-reflection, and courage, the courage to admit that much of what we have been taught may be incomplete, misleading, or outright false. It requires humility, the humility to recognize that the universe is bigger, older, and more complex than our assumptions. And it requires action, not passive wishful thinking, but deliberate steps to realign our thoughts, our habits, and our intentions with what is true, meaningful, and constructive. This is where personal responsibility emerges. It is not enough to simply recognize the illusions around us. We must act. We must cultivate empathy, because our actions ripple outward, affecting others in ways we cannot fully predict. We must seek knowledge, not as an exercise in ego or accumulation, but as a tool to navigate reality more wisely. We must challenge the narratives that bind us, not in rebellion for its own sake, but in pursuit of a life that is authentic, deliberate, and connected to the larger cosmos. Connection is the next frontier. For too long, we have lived as if isolation is the natural state of being, as if our small lives are inconsequential in the vastness of space and time. But consider this: the atoms in your body were forged in the hearts of stars. The oxygen you breathe, the calcium in your bones, the iron coursing through your veins, these are cosmic gifts, proof that you are not separate from the universe, but an intimate participant in its ongoing story. And if this is true of matter, how much more true must it be of consciousness, of morality, of culture? We are connected in ways that defy superficial boundaries. Every choice, every thought, every act of awareness resonates beyond the confines of our individual experience. The journey to escape the illusory matrix, then, is also a journey of connection. It is an acknowledgement that our liberation is intertwined with the liberation of others. That as we awaken to our own biases, illusions, and limitations, we also illuminate a path for those around us. That by embracing truth, empathy, and responsibility, we contribute to the evolution not just of our own lives, but of the collective human experience. This is not idealistic fluff. It is a fact rooted in physics, biology, and sociology. Systems are interconnected, and change in one node propagates through the entire network. And so, the question becomes not, can I escape the matrix? But rather, will I choose to participate consciously in the unfolding of reality? Will I dedicate myself to seeing clearly, thinking critically, acting ethically, and connecting deeply? Or will I remain passively entrained, drifting along the currents of expectation, illusion, and inertia? These are not rhetorical questions. They are invitations to a cosmic responsibility that is as real as the light of a distant quasar, as vital as the oxygen in our lungs, as profound as the fleeting moment in which we exist. Because to live fully is to recognize the stakes. The universe is vast, indifferent, and magnificent. Life is brief, fragile, and extraordinary. And yet, within these conditions lies our agency, the power to act, to create, to shape meaning. Escaping the illusory matrix is not an abstract concept. It is a tangible, practical, and transformative endeavor. It begins with awareness, continues with reflection, demands courage, and culminates in action. In doing so, we become not just observers of the universe, but participants in it. We honor the stars that birthed us by cultivating light within ourselves. We honor our fellow humans by acting with compassion, integrity, and awareness. And we honor the future, however uncertain, by leaving behind systems, narratives, and behaviors that are less about illusion and more about truth, beauty, and constructive evolution. In the end, the journey is not easy, and not everyone will undertake it. The matrix is comfortable, seductive, and deeply ingrained. But those who do embark upon it will discover that reality, both cosmic and personal, is far more wondrous than any illusion. And in that wonder, we find not just meaning, but purpose, not just knowledge, but wisdom, not just life, but a life truly lived. So I leave you with this. Look up at the night sky, feel the pulse of the universe within your own body, and ask yourself, what illusions am I ready to leave behind? What truths am I willing to embrace? And what actions, however small, can I take today to align my life with the cosmos itself? Because the universe does not demand our understanding, but it does invite our participation. And in that participation lies the potential for liberation, connection, and a life of authentic significance. And yet, even as we contemplate the vastness of the cosmos and the fragility of our lives, we are confronted by an uncomfortable truth. We are all participants in the very illusions we seek to escape. The matrix is not something out there. It is partly within us, coded into our perceptions, our assumptions, our choices. To acknowledge this is not despair, it is liberation. For the first step toward escaping any trap is to recognize its walls, to see the bars for what they are, and to understand that the key has been in our hands all along. Imagine for a moment a planet orbiting a distant star, caught in the gravitational pull of a binary system. Its path is predictable, constrained, almost inevitable, yet small perturbations, subtle nudges, can alter its trajectory entirely. That is the human condition. Our lives are shaped by forces seen and unseen: culture, upbringing, biology, economy, technology. Yet within that web of influence lies freedom, the freedom to question, to reflect, to choose, to act. Small decisions repeated over time can bend the arc of our lives in ways that seem impossible until we witness them. One person choosing awareness can ripple through communities, through societies, through generations. And so escaping the matrix is not a singular act. It is a practice, a daily commitment to seeing clearly, thinking critically, and acting deliberately. It is choosing curiosity over comfort, truth over convenience, engagement over passivity. It is the refusal to be lulled into complacency by screens, by algorithms, by narratives designed to capture our attention and our allegiance. It is saying, in essence, I will not be a passive observer of my own life. I will be a participant in reality. The cosmos itself offers lessons in humility and persistence. Stars are born in clouds of dust and gas, chaotic and dense, and yet through the slow, inexorable force of gravity, they ignite, they shine, they illuminate the darkness. We too are forged in turbulence, in uncertainty, in fear, in struggle, and yet through perseverance, through reflection, through deliberate action, we can ignite our potential. Our light may not span light years, but it can illuminate the lives of those around us. It can guide others toward truth, understanding, and responsibility. It can be the spark that slowly changes a culture, a society, even a planet. But let us not mistake this metaphor for comfort. The Matrix resists change. It is seductive. It thrives on distraction, on noise, on the illusion of choice without consequence. Escaping it requires courage, the kind of courage that is quieter than heroics, subtler than revolution. It is the courage to look inward, to confront one's own illusions, to admit mistakes, to persist despite the temptation to disengage. It is the courage to act ethically when no one is watching, to speak truth in spaces where falsehood is convenient, to be deliberate when inertia is easier. And there is humor in this journey too, because human beings are flawed, wonderfully flawed. We stumble, we misjudge, we repeat our errors, and yet there is grace in persistence, in trying again, in choosing awareness each day. Even the brightest stars occasionally flare and fade. Even the most brilliant minds make miscalculations. The universe itself is messy, chaotic, unpredictable, and somehow in all that chaos, there is order and beauty and meaning. Connection, again, becomes essential because the matrix isolates, but the universe unites. Our atoms were born in stars. Our bodies are made of the same fundamental particles that permeate the cosmos. And if this is true of matter, how much more true must it be of consciousness, morality, and empathy? Each act of kindness, each effort to understand, each deliberate choice to engage responsibly reverberates. Each human life touches countless others in ways that are subtle, profound, and often invisible. We are woven into the fabric of existence in ways that defy our perception, and this is both humbling and empowering. The challenge, then, is to live consciously within this network, to recognize that freedom is not the absence of influence, but the ability to act intelligently within it. That personal responsibility is not a burden, but a privilege. The privilege to shape our lives, our communities, and ultimately the trajectory of humanity. That awareness is not a destination, but a practice, a continual process of questioning, learning, and refining our understanding of reality. In the end, escaping the illusory matrix is not about rejecting the world. It is about engaging with it more fully. It is about seeing the mechanisms, the forces, the biases, the illusions, and choosing every day to act with clarity, empathy, and purpose. It is about embracing wonder without being naive, about acknowledging chaos without succumbing to despair, about recognizing the enormity of the universe while committing to the significance of our actions. And so, my challenge to you, the challenge to all of us is this: look up at the night sky and feel the pulse of the universe within yourself. Reflect on the illusions that shape your life. Ask yourself which narratives, assumptions, or habits are holding you in orbit around a path that is not your own. Then, with courage, with curiosity, and with humility, choose differently. Step deliberately, act responsibly, connect deeply, illuminate where you can, question where you must, and persist where others might give in. Because this is the cosmic truth. The universe does not demand our understanding, yet it invites our participation. It is indifferent, yet it is intertwined with us. It is vast, yet our actions ripple through it. It is old, yet we are its inheritors and stewards. And in choosing to live consciously, to act ethically, and to embrace the full complexity of reality, we not only escape the illusions that confine us, we participate in the unfolding of the universe itself. Escaping the illusory matrix is a journey not all will undertake. It is not easy, and it is not guaranteed. But for those who do, it is transformative. It is the difference between existing and truly living, between observing the cosmos and becoming part of it, between drifting through life passively and navigating it with awareness, purpose, and connection. So take that step. Observe critically, reflect courageously, act intentionally, connect universally. Because in doing so, you do not merely escape a matrix, you affirm your place in the universe, honor your own potential, and contribute to the light that illuminates the lives of others. And when you look back, you will see that the journey itself, the questioning, the learning, the striving, is the greatest adventure of all. It is a story worth telling, a life worth living, and a legacy that extends beyond the boundaries of our individual existence. For in the end, the stars did not create themselves. The universe is not indifferent to those who act. And we, tiny yet remarkable, have the privilege to shine. And so here we are, paradoxically alive, in an age where knowledge is at our fingertips, yet understanding often slips through our grasp. We carry the sum of human discovery in our pockets, atoms and galaxies, genomes and algorithms, but we still stumble over questions as old as consciousness itself. Why are we here? What is the purpose of all this? And how do we act in a world where information floods faster than wisdom can keep pace? It is in this tension, this very paradox, that the journey begins, not by escaping the world, but by seeing it clearly. By recognizing the subtle forces that shape our perceptions, the media that primes our fears, the systems that reward convenience over curiosity, the comfort that discourages reflection. The Matrix is not science fiction. It is the environment of the mind, the invisible gravity that keeps us orbiting assumptions rather than truths. Consider the cosmos. Billions of stars in a galaxy, billions of galaxies in the observable universe. Each star has a story of birth, fusion, and eventual demise. Each planet exists because of intricate cosmic coincidences. We, too, are the product of countless collisions, of evolutionary pressures stretching back billions of years, of atoms forged in the hearts of stars. We are not separate from the universe. We are a continuation of it. And just as stars influence each other through gravity, radiation, and light, our actions ripple through the social and moral fabric of humanity. Yet, unlike the stars, we can choose. We are not bound by stellar physics alone. We can observe, reflect, and decide. Escaping the matrix is about using that freedom, even when it is inconvenient, uncomfortable, or against the tide of consensus. It is about refusing to allow our attention to be hijacked, our judgments to be clouded, or our empathy to be dulled by distraction. This is not a call to perfection. Humanity is too gloriously flawed for that. It is a call to awareness, to notice when we are repeating assumptions, when we are passively consuming narratives, when we are sacrificing insight for ease. The cosmos teaches us that life thrives not by avoiding uncertainty, but by engaging with it. Stars collapse, explode, and reform. Chaos, when understood, becomes creation. And so it is with our own lives. The challenge is not to escape the storms, but to navigate them with curiosity, integrity, and courage. There is humor in this journey because human beings are inherently imperfect. We stumble, we misjudge, we are distracted by trivialities, and yet, in the midst of our errors, there is the potential for growth. Like particles colliding in a supernova, our failures can be the catalyst for illumination. We just need the willingness to observe, reflect, and adjust course. But let's not ignore the collective dimension. Escaping the matrix is not purely personal. The illusions we confront, division, misinformation, apathy, are systemic. They are woven into the fabric of societies, amplified by technology, reinforced by culture. And yet, each individual decision matters. Each act of curiosity, integrity, and compassion resonates outward, like the subtle pull of gravity influencing the path of a planet. Small actions accumulate, networks of awareness form, and over time, consciousness, both personal and collective, can shift. The invitation of the universe is clear. Notice the patterns, understand the forces, and act deliberately. Our atoms were born in stellar furnaces, yet we possess the extraordinary capacity to reflect on those origins. Our consciousness emerges from neural networks, Yet we can choose to extend empathy beyond ourselves, to see the world not only as a collection of objects, but as an interconnected system of lives, actions, and consequences. Here is the crux. Escaping the illusory matrix is neither passive nor easy. It is a daily commitment to vigilance and choice, to question assumptions, to seek understanding, to act ethically, to engage deeply with reality, even when it challenges comfort, certainty, or convenience. It is the difference between drifting through life on autopilot and navigating it with awareness and purpose. And this is where the cosmic perspective becomes empowering. The universe is vast, indifferent, and magnificent, but within that vastness, we have the opportunity to matter, not in the sense of changing stars or galaxies, but in shaping consciousness, fostering empathy, and choosing responsibly. Our actions reverberate, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically. We are not insignificant. We are participants in the ongoing experiment of existence. So, if you wish to escape the matrix, start with observation. Notice where your attention goes. Question why you believe what you believe. Test assumptions as rigorously as scientists test hypotheses. Engage with others not merely as individuals, but as nodes in a vast network of shared responsibility. Act not only for personal gain, but for collective flourishing. And embrace wonder, not as escape, but as fuel wonder about the universe, about the potential of humanity, about the consequences of deliberate action. The matrix is seductive because it is familiar, safe, and often invisible. But safety without awareness is stagnation. Comfort without reflection is complicity. Illusions persist until confronted. And confronting them is the path toward freedom, toward responsibility, toward a meaningful existence. In the end, escaping the illusory matrix is not a one-time achievement. It is a journey. It is the commitment to see clearly, act wisely, and connect deeply. It is to look up at the night sky and recognize yourself not merely as a spectator, but as a participant in the vast unfolding of the cosmos. To know that your choices, small, daily, deliberate matter. To embrace the paradox of being at once tiny and immensely significant. And when you do, you will discover something profound. Freedom is not in rejecting the world, but in engaging with it fully. Responsibility is not a burden, but a privilege. Awareness is not a destination, but a practice. And the universe, immense, beautiful, indifferent, and intertwined, awaits your participation. So step forward. Question boldly. Reflect honestly. Act intentionally. Connect universally. Illuminate where you can. Persist where others falter. And in doing so, you will not merely escape the matrix, you will affirm your place in the universe, honor your potential, and contribute to the unfolding story of existence itself. For the journey of escaping the illusory matrix is not guaranteed, not easy, and not undertaken by all. But for those who choose it, it is transformative. It is the difference between existing and truly living, between drifting aimlessly and navigating with purpose, between watching the universe and participating in its unfolding. And when you finally look back, you will see that the adventure itself, the questioning, the striving, the illuminating, is the greatest story ever told. Because it is your story, our story, the story of conscious life daring to matter in a vast, indifferent cosmos. And in that story, the light we cast, the understanding we cultivate, and the connections we nurture ripple through time, space, and consciousness itself. We are made of stardust. We are agents of reflection. We are stewards of consequence. And the universe, well, the universe is waiting for us to awaken, to participate, and to shine. And yet, even as we confront the illusions around us, even as we wrestle with the matrix of perception, there is a fundamental truth we cannot escape. We are part of a story far larger than our own individual narratives. Every atom in your body has existed since the birth of the universe. Every thought you have is processed through neural pathways that evolved over millions of years. We are connected physically, chemically, historically to the cosmos and to one another. And this connection is not just poetic, it is real. It is the grounding that allows our choices to matter. Imagine standing on a quiet night under the Milky Way. That streak of stars is not just light traveling across unimaginable distances. It is a message, a reminder, a mirror reflecting the very laws that shaped your existence. In that reflection, you can see both the enormity of the universe and the fragility of life. You can see your insignificance and yet, paradoxically, your potential significance. For within this vast expanse, conscious beings like you, like me, have emerged. Beings capable of asking questions, making decisions, and shaping the very trajectory of our civilization. The Matrix is seductive because it promises comfort, certainty, and distraction. It whispers that engagement is optional, that curiosity is dangerous, that responsibility is burdensome. But the universe does not operate on convenience. Stars do not pause their fusion to make life easier. Galaxies do not wait for us to catch up. The laws of physics are impartial, indifferent, relentless, and therein lies the lesson. If we wish to live meaningfully, we must meet reality on its own terms. We must cultivate awareness, embrace responsibility, and act with intention. And here's the beautiful irony. As we confront these challenges, we discover something remarkable. Awareness is not a weight, it is a source of liberation. Responsibility is not a cage, it is a key. The universe does not demand our surrender, it invites our participation. Every act of honesty, every choice guided by empathy, every moment of curiosity contributes to a collective awakening. And this awakening, small though it may seem, ripples outward like gravitational waves through the fabric of society and consciousness. So, what does it mean to escape the illusory matrix? It does not mean rejecting the world or withdrawing from it. It does not mean achieving perfection or enlightenment. It means observing clearly, questioning boldly, and acting deliberately. It means recognizing the patterns that shape your perceptions and choosing to engage with reality rather than be swept along by it. It means seeing yourself not merely as a passive observer, but as a conscious participant in the unfolding story of existence. To be clear, this journey is not easy. It requires courage. The courage to confront uncomfortable truths, the courage to admit mistakes, the courage to act when action is inconvenient. It requires patience, because understanding and change rarely occur overnight. It requires humility, because the universe is vast, complex, and infinitely more intricate than any single mind can comprehend. But it also offers reward, the reward of meaning, connection, and purpose. And here is the final lesson. In a universe that does not bend to our whims, our significance is not given. It is chosen. We are the authors of our ethical, intellectual, and emotional lives. We are the stewards of our societies and the guardians of our shared planet. We are, in essence, both products and participants of a cosmos that has entrusted us with awareness. And what we do with that awareness defines not only the trajectory of our own lives, but the legacy of life itself. So step into that responsibility. Embrace the uncertainty, act with intention, connect with the universe and with one another. Ask the difficult questions, seek the inconvenient truths, and illuminate the corners of reality that others ignore. For escaping the illusory matrix is not merely an intellectual exercise, it is a moral imperative, a personal and collective calling. And as you do, remember this: the stars will keep burning, the galaxies will keep spinning, and the universe will continue its vast, indifferent dance. But within that dance, you have the extraordinary opportunity to matter, to contribute, to awaken, to participate, to shine. Because the journey is not a solitary one, it is shared, it is collaborative, it is the story of humanity striving to align itself with the reality of the cosmos, of conscious beings daring to live intentionally in the face of infinite complexity. And when we rise to that challenge, when we embrace our potential to understand, to act, and to connect, we discover something astonishing. The matrix, as powerful as it may seem, cannot contain the light of awareness. So, dare to awaken, dare to think critically, dare to live responsibly. Dare to see the universe for what it is: beautiful, vast, indifferent, and yet filled with potential for consciousness, meaning, and wonder. The journey is not guaranteed. It is not easy. But for those who undertake it, the rewards are profound. You do not merely escape illusion, you embrace reality. You do not merely survive, you contribute. You do not merely exist, you participate in the grand, ongoing experiment of life itself. And in that participation, you will find something that no distraction, no convenience, no illusion can ever take away. A sense of purpose, a connection to the cosmos, and the knowledge that in the vastness of space and time, your awareness matters. Your actions matter. Your life, fully engaged, fully conscious, fully responsible, matters. This is the journey, this is the choice, this is the awakening. And as we contemplate our place in this cosmos, we must also confront another paradox. We live in an era of unprecedented knowledge and connectivity, yet isolation and misunderstanding thrive like weeds in the soil of society. Information travels at the speed of light, yet wisdom lags behind. The same networks that allow us to share discoveries across continents also amplify fear, division, and illusion. The very tools that could illuminate reality can, if misused, reinforce the matrix we hope to escape. Consider this. Every neuron in your brain is firing in patterns shaped by evolution, culture, and experience. Every thought you have is influenced by a lifetime of inputs, many of which you do not even consciously recognize. To navigate life meaningfully, we must develop what I would call cosmic literacy, the ability to perceive the universe clearly, to see the patterns, to recognize biases, and to distinguish between the signal of reality and the noise of distraction. Science itself is an antidote to illusion. It does not tell us what to believe. It teaches us how to think. It trains us to question, to test, to observe, to follow evidence where it leads, even when it challenges our assumptions, our desires, or our comforts. Every experiment, every telescope image, every measurement of distant quasars or subatomic particles is a reminder that reality is far stranger and more intricate than our minds can fully grasp. And yet, in learning how the universe truly works, we gain the power to live more consciously, to act more responsibly, and to engage more meaningfully with the world around us. Now, if this feels overwhelming, good, it should. Awareness of the scale of the cosmos, the fragility of life, and the weight of our choices is not meant to comfort. It is meant to awaken, but there is hope. Hope, not as a passive wish, but as an active, deliberate choice. Hope grounded in knowledge, effort, and compassion. Because the universe may be indifferent, but humans are capable of extraordinary care, collaboration, and creativity. We can act as stewards of our planet, curators of knowledge, and architects of a more enlightened society. And here's the key. Personal responsibility is not separate from universal connection. It is the expression of it. When you choose to understand rather than ignore, to help rather than neglect, to question rather than accept, you honor the vast lineage of cosmic events that led to your existence. You become a conscious participant in a story that spans 13.8 billion years. You honor both the stars that formed your body and the generations yet unborn. Let me illustrate this with a metaphor. Imagine a galaxy spinning in the dark. Every star follows the laws of gravity, yet the galaxy's shape emerges from countless interactions, collisions, and harmonies. Your actions are like those stars, seemingly small, yet collectively shaping the trajectory of the system. You cannot see the full impact of a single choice, but that does not render it meaningless. Every act of curiosity, integrity, or compassion contributes to the unfolding pattern, rippling outward in ways we may never fully observe. Escaping the illusory matrix is therefore not about achieving perfection. It is about clarity, courage, and commitment. It is about seeing the illusions that obscure reality and choosing repeatedly to act in alignment with what you know to be true. It is about cultivating discernment, empathy, and wisdom. It is about embracing the tension between your human limitations and your cosmic potential. And when we succeed, when even a fraction of humanity begins to awaken, we transform the world. Not through spectacle or force, but through subtle, persistent engagement, through asking the right questions, through thinking critically about the stories we are told, the narratives we perpetuate, and the actions we normalize. Through connecting knowledge with ethics, intellect with compassion, and curiosity with responsibility, in the end, the universe is not asking us to be gods. It is asking us to be awake. Awake to the interconnections, awake to the consequences of our choices, awake to the wonder and gravity of existence. Every moment of awareness, every deliberate action, every pursuit of truth, these are the sparks that illuminate the darkness, that fracture the illusions, that guide humanity toward a more conscious, meaningful future. So, let this be the invitation. Step out of the comfortable haze of unquestioned assumptions. Observe reality with clarity, question relentlessly, act responsibly, connect intentionally, embrace the wonder, the complexity, and the responsibility that comes with being a conscious participant in this universe. The journey will not be easy. It will challenge you, provoke you, and sometimes unsettle you. But the rewards are profound. A life lived with purpose, a mind sharpened by understanding, and a heart attuned to the interconnectedness of all things. Because the universe will continue its vast, majestic dance, indifferent to our joys, sorrows, and ambitions. But within that indifference lies our opportunity, the chance to awaken, to act, and to matter. To see the matrix not as an unbreakable prison, but as a challenge to consciousness. To recognize that the true voyage is not out there among the stars alone, but inward toward clarity, responsibility, and connection. And when we rise to that challenge, individually and collectively, we discover something extraordinary. The illusory matrix loses its power. Awareness becomes liberation. Responsibility becomes meaning. Connection becomes love, not sentimental, but cosmic, scientific, real. And we begin to live not as passive observers of existence, but as participants in a magnificent, unfolding, ever-evolving story that is larger than ourselves, yet intimately our own. So awaken, observe, question, act, connect. And in doing so, you step into the lineage of stars, the legacy of life, and the ongoing experiment of consciousness itself. The journey is not easy. It is not guaranteed, but for those who undertake it, it is the only path to true understanding, true purpose, and true participation in the cosmos. And that, my friends, is a journey worth every challenge, every doubt, and every moment of wonder. Because escaping the illusory matrix is not merely a possibility, it is a responsibility. It is not merely an adventure, it is our calling. And it is only through this conscious engagement, this deliberate awakening, that we can hope to live fully, ethically, and magnificently in a universe that is vast, indifferent, and endlessly inspiring. So, as you stand beneath the night sky tonight, look up and let yourself feel the immensity of it all. Every star you see, every galaxy we can barely imagine, existed long before us and will exist long after. Yet here we are, right now, in this tiny corner of the universe, alive, conscious, capable of thought, capable of choice. And that, in itself, is miraculous. It is a brief flicker in cosmic time, yet it is the only moment you have to make meaning, to seek truth, to act with responsibility, to connect with others, and to leave the world just a little better than you found it. So, embrace curiosity. Cherish knowledge. Question relentlessly. And never forget, the universe is under no obligation to make sense to you, but you are under an obligation to make sense of yourself, to understand your place in this vast, indifferent, beautiful cosmos. Because in the end, the most extraordinary thing about the universe is that you exist to witness it. And if that doesn't inspire awe, wonder, and action, then nothing will.